Hi YouTube, I'd been looking out at my local car boot sale for a vehicle that I could do up in a sort of Mad Max post-apocalyptic style with lots of rust and things. Um, and I was looking for like a sort of an American muscle car, that sort of thing. But in the end, I saw this VW Beetle and it was £1. I mean, it's got the tyres missing, there's a seat missing in the front, but I don't think you're going to notice that by the time it's finished. I could sort of imagine what it was going to look like in the end straight away, but you guys probably can't. Although having said that, you've probably all seen the little thumbnail at the front of this video, so you probably all know exactly what it's going to look like. But anyway, we'll work on it, and I'll show you step by step how I go about turning this into a really cool looking vehicle. So I've got loads of plastic parts. I've basically been collecting up plastic parts for this kind of thing. So this is just a little kid's toy for use in a sandpit with a mesh on it. Here's another bit of I think this is Mega Bloks or something. And then there's lots of bits of Lego. I used to collect Lego minifigures, so I used to go to the car boot sale and buy big lots of Lego, and I've got loads. And quite often in the Lego you get all kinds of other plastic little toys and things, so that all these little guns and things might be useful. Um, got wheels and things from the Lego, they could be good. Look, here's an exhaust pipe that is Lego, that'll be useful. Um, I could, make all of these parts individually. Here's a sort of pipe thing. But I think, because there are so many parts here, I might as well make my life a bit easier by just using some of these that are kind of ready straight away. Like, look, here's a little aerial. That could be quite good. Just stick it straight on. Um, yeah, the faster the better with this sort of thing. And this I came across, look at this big engine block. This is going to be absolutely perfect straight away. Look, even just by positioning this like this, I can see that is going to make a huge difference to the look of the vehicle. So I'm going to use that definitely. So what I used to do when I was collecting Lego minifigures was I would separate out all the bits of Lego from any non-Lego that was inside with it. And quite often you get all this stuff, which is all like Mega Bloks and that kind of thing. And when you sell Lego on eBay, you've got to take out all the Mega Bloks and things like that because people just want the genuine Lego. So I've ended up with this massive tub of all these parts, and rather than throw them all away or try and sell them as just Mega Bloks, I thought I'll just keep them because there are so many little plastic parts and things in here, and all of these can be used for this kind of what's sort of called kit bashing, where you just cut bits up and stick them to things and turn them into other things. I think this is going to be perfect. You can see this pile here. It's basically a pile of potential just waiting to be turned into something. So I only have a few tools that I use really for doing this. I have a small Tamiya craft saw, which is really useful for just chopping bits up. I also have a pair of wire cutters, again just for kind of nipping off bits of plastic here and there where I don't need it anymore. And I just cut the things roughly to shape, and then I'm sticking everything on with super glue. I use Gorilla super glue, which is slightly rubbery. It dries really quickly, but if it doesn't dry fast, what you can do, if you've got a big blob of it, is you can use some bicarbonate of soda, which is also called baking soda, and you just sprinkle that on and the glue sets almost straight away. So you can see here, it doesn't matter about the colours of anything, I'm just getting the shapes on because this is all obviously going to be painted. So you can see here the rails along here, this is the same parts, but one's blue and one's brown. That doesn't matter at all because it'll all be painted over. You probably all spotted the red mesh on the windows. That was from that kid's sandpit toy that I showed you at the beginning. Again, I just snipped that into the right shape using my wire cutters. So now I'm starting to add even more detail onto this. So on the engine block, you can see I put a couple of those rubber tubes. They should look nice all painted up. And then I've added these bits to the door. This is what's really nice about this kind of build. You just are sticking parts on one at a time, and it gets more and more complicated looking, and you just really look forward to the painting stages because it's going to just look amazing. But you can see here, like, I've made a gun turret at the top, and that was just that really big gun, just a bit of tube, super glue it all together, and then a few extra detailed, bits of rubber hose or whatever adds nice little finishing touches to that. And at this stage, I was kind of also thinking about the Ghostbusters car with all the bits and bobs that are added to that and how cool that looks. And I know like this is looking quite good even, as a white VW Beetle, but I really do want to make it rusty looking at the end. I'm obviously a really big fan of a lot of 80s movies like Ghostbusters and Back to the Future and that sort of thing. Any vehicles where they've got lots of really detailed bits on, I love, but all the bits have to look like they have some sort of purpose. So here I've put the exhaust pipe on, I've done the aerials, so they look like they've got a purpose. I've put like a little satellite dish type thing on as well. Anything that kind of makes your imagination think that it's got a use. All the little rails and things you can imagine are there for people to kind of grab hold of to pull themselves up on top of the vehicle. You've got those sort of little step things on the side that I put on the doors. Again, they look like you could step up onto them. And just everything that's on here is either, to kind of serve as some kind of armour or, spikes to kind of, reverse into people, or spikes on the front so you can drive straight into other vehicles to wreck them. Everything should have a bit of a purpose, or just add little details here and there that are just going to make the whole thing look a lot cooler. Okay, so hopefully you agree that these extra little finishing touches make all the difference. So what I've added here, some wheels. These were Lego wheels, but I've also stuck the original wheels onto them. So you've got those original rims on there. I think they look pretty cool. Also, you've got extra bars at the front to kind of reinforce that front section. Makes that look a bit more believable rather than just to have it stuck just on the bumper. And then loads of extra little bits and pieces here and there. You've got the spikes on the wheels. Those are going to look cool, I think, all painted up. But the main thing that I've added here is lots and lots of these little rhinestones. You can buy these in packs. I'll show you in a second because I've got a sheet of them to one side there. They're really good and they look like rivets. So you put them on, they're sticky, they're self-adhesive. You just stick them on. It takes a while because they're so tiny, they're a bit fiddly. But you stick them all along kind of edges and things where you think rivets might go. Obviously they look a little bit stupid at first because they just look like you're adding bling to your vehicle. That is not the purpose of this. Obviously they're going to get painted over and then they'll look like proper rivets. At the moment it does just look like you're trying to make your vehicle really glittery or something. But I can see past that, and even at this stage, to me they look like rivets because I can imagine them all painted up. I've got a few bits here like this on here. I haven't decided if I'm going to stick that on or not. I think I do ultimately stick it on, but yeah, there are sometimes you just position things on and just kind of look at them for a while. Here you can see, look, where the rivets go all the way along edges and things. So here they are. I've got these from a car boot sale as well. Adhesive gems. You can see there, like 1,080 in a pack. I got sheets like this at the car boot sale for 10p a pack, and I bought loads of them because I thought that would keep me in rivets for a very long time. And you can see for this vehicle, I've used loads, but actually if you look there, there's still loads left on the sheet as well. So they should last me a good long time. Right, one more thing I should say is when you get to this stage where you think it's pretty much done, ready for painting, you can add extra blobs of super glue along edges as if it's kind of like welds, and you put the blobs of super glue on and then sprinkle the bicarbonate of soda on just to kind of set it quicker. Okay, here's the first painting stage. So to start with, all I've done is paint the whole thing in this very dark brown colour. I'm using System 3 acrylic paints to do this. And I think this gives a brilliant effect straight away. It looks really nice. You can see like all the rivets now look much more like rivets. And the whole thing is just, flat brown colour. But if it's starting to work at this stage, it's going to work really well when you start dry brushing the metallic effects onto it. I painted the underside of this vehicle as well, but I didn't bother painting inside because you don't really notice that through the mesh through the front windscreen. Right, this is the next stage. At first glance it doesn't look that much different, but if I zoom in here, you'll see all the kind of higher points have silver on. So I've just dry brushed the silver. So if you haven't done dry brushing before, you just get a bit of the silver paint on your brush, then you really rub your brush on some kitchen paper till it's almost dry, and then you're just rubbing that on the top surfaces of things, and that just gives this cool metallic effect. It starts to make the whole thing look like metal. Do you see that by dusting the silver on, you just get it on just all the high points? So you can see on these sort of exhaust hoses on the back here, it's just hitting the top bits and it's leaving the darker brown in the middle. You've also got all the little rivets, they all start to show up silver, and then you've got the brown sort of surrounding them. So that makes them kind of pop out a little bit. And just keep thinking when you're doing the dry brushing of, where would the light be hitting it? The light tends to come from above, so you're just trying to hit all the high places most of the time. So I remember being really pleased with it at this stage and being tempted to kind of leave it as it is. But can you see that I've only used like dark brown and silver, so it has this kind of almost like cast iron effect. It's got that sort of look to it, but I wanted to add rust. I haven't added any kind of real rust yet, so I need to add that sort of orangey rusty colour to it, and that's going to make a big difference, I think, and just finish it off nicely. Yeah, I always worry at this sort of stage, right at the end. I think, should I finish it here? But so often I just kind of give it a last minute thought, and then I end up adding more, and actually it's those last minute things that you put on that often make such a difference. So yeah, really think about your model right at the end. Is there anything else I can add to it? If you've been to my channel before, then you probably know that the main thing that I like to make is actually like creatures from movies. So mainly kind of 80s creature feature movies like Gremlins and Critters. Little weird creatures like that sort of thing are the things that I love. So making a vehicle like this is quite unusual for me, but I've really enjoyed doing it. It's really like fast and immediate when you use the super glue. Sticking these little parts on happens instantly. So I think I will do more things like this in the future. Let me know in the comments if you enjoy this, and I'll certainly endeavour to do more. Right, this is the next stage. What's really hard about this is because I've filmed it against the wood, it's quite hard to see what I've done. So in a minute I'll show you the difference that it makes to film it on a completely different background. But for now you can kind of see the rusty colour. But can you see how the rusty colour is basically the same colour as the wood in the background, and it kind of merges in a little bit. But I thought I'd show you a little bit so you could see it in context, and then I'll show you on a cutting mat and show you the difference. Okay, so this is the finished effect. Like I said, this is exactly the same as the one I just showed you, but it shows up much better on this cutting mat. You can see more clearly where I've put all the rust. Mainly I've tried to think where would rust form, and I've tried to put it on kind of the underneath sort of bits, if you see what I mean, of each section, like on the edges of the wheel arches. I've done it on some of the higher parts as well, like the middle of the bonnet, that sort of thing. But mainly, if you look at the engine block here, it's on sort of underneath bits of each section. I think that works quite well. Like, I still don't think, even on this cutting mat, this video really does it that much justice. Like in real life, I promise you, it really does look like metal. I was really chuffed with the effect that I got. All the little plastic parts just look like they're made of metal now, which is really cool. I toyed with the idea of putting this on some kind of base, maybe making it into a little diorama or something. Maybe putting some kind of dusty, rocky kind of terrain at the bottom. But then I thought, all my models take up so much space. If I start getting into dioramas as well, I'm going to end up, my wife will end up hating me because I already take up quite a lot of space anyway. So minimising it, this should fit into a smaller area. I will certainly look out for more cheap vehicles that I can buy at the car boot sale for doing more of this sort of thing. And then all of the plastic parts that I've got in this massive tub. So I've got loads and loads of bits and bobs left over. I also collect other things like bits from inside of, you know, electrical items. So anything, rather than chuck it away, I'll unscrew it and just take out all the little, you know, microchips and springs and bits and bobs that are inside things, and just collect them all together in boxes. So they're all ready for this sort of thing. I know lots of other makers on YouTube will collect small plastic parts and put them in boxes and things, so they're all ready to go when they want to do these kind of little builds. Now that I've realised the benefits of using super glue and the kind of instantaneous effect that you get, I'm going to try and bulk buy some super glue as well. Normally when I'm making my creatures and things like that, I use PVA glue mixed with kitchen paper to give me a sort of a paper mache effect. And I get through a lot of PVA glue. I use super PVA glue that you use for flooring, and I get through massive tubs of it. Right, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a like or let me know in the comments so I can make more things like this. Hit subscribe if you want to see any videos that I post up in the future. And check out my other videos if you get a chance of some of the weird little creatures and things that I make from movies. They're the things that I get the most pleasure out of. I think it's just because when they're done, they've got little personalities. They look like they're looking back at you. And they look really great together on a shelf. Right, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.